Good morning, everyone. Good morning to me anyway. Some of you are from different parts where it's not morning, so I always want to just happy Monday is maybe the right way to start this call. And welcome to the Monday Mantra call. If you're new here, my name is Carla Smith. I'm a personal transformation coach who focuses on self-love as a way to really create the life that you want and deserve. And we are here every Monday to become just more intentional about the daily practices we can put in place to be in community and to really just develop our sense of self-love on a everyday basis. So welcome. Just a few little housekeeping things. Penny, who's going to wave now. Hey, Penny. Penny's here to answer any questions that you have, or if you want to ask a question but don't want to be come on camera, that's totally cool, and you can ask Penny to ask that question for you. I check the chat at the end of the call, so if you want to ask me something privately, you can absolutely do that directly in the chat. We use the reaction button that's on the bottom right there to connect. You can definitely put emojis there if someone says something that you love, or if you want to raise your hand to speak, that's the way that I can see that you want to share your insights or questions. All right, so let's get started. It's happy long weekend. For those of you who have today off, that's wonderful. You've had a nice, good chunk of time. I definitely, except for this call, have taken time off. So that feels really nice to have some time. Whatever it is that you celebrated, whether, whatever it is, whatever holiday or just Sunday, I hope you had a really nice long weekend. And we're going to talk today about really our morning, how we start our day, right? So our mantra this morning is, I wake up motivated to do what's best for me. I wake up motivated to do what's best for me. So the way we begin our day is a great example of what we believe we deserve, right? So how we start is really so key. If we start in a loving and healthy way, we are demonstrating to ourselves that we are deserving of the same love and care throughout our day. And when you look at the most successful people, I mean success in the grander way than just money. So many of those people that feel fulfilled and joyful in their life, the majority of them have some sort of morning practice or intentional way to start their day. And so I want to just suggest that creating a morning practice that feels positive, energizing, and self-loving sets you up for a great ripple effect, right? And it infuses your day with happy, healthy feelings. And that then, obviously, the more we do that, the momentum grows and we have that as our life. So it's like this microcosm of practices that then ends up expanding into being how we sort of show up for ourselves every single day. So our question, which we always start off with, is what things would you like to change about the way you wake up each morning? So these are things you want to change. So I want to get into the habits that you have right now that maybe don't feel so healthy. What things would you like to change about the way you wake up each morning? So you can go ahead and use reaction and let me know if there's anything there that you're doing right now that you wish could be different, so that you're more intentional or more, checking my phone. Thanks, Rose. Such a big one. Everyone put their hand up. Who starts their day with their phone. Yeah, such a huge one. Thank you for sharing that in the chat. It's just this automatic thing, right, that we have to get our mindset out of. Love that. Anyone else? I would like to still not be tired. Yeah, love that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And some things are specific to particular person, and some things are more general, which is what we're going to talk about, ways that we can improve, do some things that improve how we feel when we wake up, right? Yeah, good. Anyone else? I didn't, running late already. Yes. So feeling like we're already behind, is that kind of what you mean? I think that feeling that we're already behind right from the get-go. I always know I should eat, but I do not anticipate. I do not anticipate. I missed it. So I have to put that chat on. Hang on. There we go. Do not anticipate to in the morning, right? Like it's not intuitive to eat right away. So yeah, wake up 15 minutes earlier to do stretches and meditation. Love that one. Wake up with a more positive mindset. Beautiful. I lay in bed thinking about everything I need to do versus just getting up. Wonderful. Love these. So these are all really, really good. And we are all, when we're in an unconscious state of just getting up, these are so common to all of us, right? I think everybody who read those is like, yep, check, 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 unless you have a really, firm morning practice. Rose, thinking about my problems. I love that. It's so important to acknowledge and notice that that's how you're waking up, so that that can change. Because if we start our day feeling like everything's a problem already, then we're inviting problems, right? So love that, all of those. Thank you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to share are 13 ideas for you to choose from to have a beautiful start to your day. So these are, as I've talked about many times on here, I started my personal growth and my self-care and my morning practice. So all of those things wound up into one when I was at my lowest point. I was depressed. I was definitely had I was living under, without enough money every single day. I had my 3 kids. I was a single mom. I was going through an illness. So there was a lot of stuff on my plate at that time. And I just knew that what I was doing wasn't working. And so I decided that I had read lots of things that successful people had done, and it felt really overwhelming. And I want us to just start this conversation from that place. I am not saying add these 13 things to your life. So I just want to start right there, because it does feel overwhelming when you have none of the things working, right? And so I decided to just choose one little thing. And so that was to get up a little bit earlier and see the sunrise every morning. The sunrise, I love the sun. And so the sunrise felt like a really, really powerful thing for me to connect to. I didn't even realize at the time when I chose that how profound it would be, but just the miracle of, the colors in the sky, the fact that it went from darkness to light, that I could watch the sun literally lift, and see it become this ball in the sky. There were so many things that just felt miraculous and like metaphors that I could use for my life. And some indirect things started to happen. I realized that this was the time, because my kids were young, that I had free time, that I had time where I was not responsible for another human being except myself. So it started that idea that I actually could carve out time for myself that was intentional and self-caring and loving. It also helped me to see that when I did just one thing, there was a huge impact. So what if I tried other things? So it helped me to build that momentum of trying other things. It showed me also that when I didn't do it 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, the sunrise was still there and I could go back to it the next day. So I didn't need to feel like a complete failure because I had slept in 3 days. I just had to get up again and start again, right? So it started to teach me a whole bunch of things. As I said, this little idea of morning practice ended up being literally the philosophy of my life, right? So it's grown from this little sort of practice that I put in place because I just didn't know what else to do, to growing into the evolution of who I am and how I show up now. So again, every one of these things that I'm going to share are just suggestions. I'm just giving you ideas. Anything you do for yourself is going to be the right thing as long as it feels healthy and nourishing and makes you feel restful or joyful or reflective or inspired or something wonderful, right? So the first thing I want to talk about speaks to what Joanna was talking about. Is I want to just say the first thing about having a morning routine is that you have to take care of your bedtime. So get enough sleep, right? Having a great bedtime routine sets you up for a great next day. So I want you to think about it from that perspective, right? We're tired, we stay up too late, we watch late night TV, we're on our phones, we're playing a game, we're doing whatever we're doing, and we're feeling like as if it's like we're just too tired to be doing anything else, but we're not ready for bed because this is like maybe the only time you have by yourself, or you don't fall asleep easily, or all of these things that we've created as a dialogue in our head that then become our truth, right? But if you can remember that what you do at night makes your next day spectacular or not, right? Then it may help you to be motivated to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to share what it looks like for me. And I will honestly say this is a work in progress. And there are days when I'm like stellar about this and days when I'm not. And so just reminding everyone that this is always just practice. It's not about being perfect, right? It's about being in practice. So what would a ideal day look like? It means that I'm off my phone at a particular time, right? And my phone is set to do not disturb, so that I'm not getting emails or texts, or my phone isn't lighting up. It's just on dark, right? I'm not using it at all. I have a set bedtime. So my bedtime, I have an alarm on my phone, which is for 10:30. And so generally speaking, when the alarm goes off, it's time for bed. It's not necessarily like sleep time yet, but it's time for me to get started for bedtime. And that can be any time for you. So if you like to go to bed earlier, set that alarm early, and it gives me about half an hour before I'm actually in bed. So I usually go to bed at 11. And in that half an hour, I like to, sometimes I go to bed earlier, and sometimes I go to bed like at 5 to 11, if I'm being honest. But I like to, if I can, I like to do like 5 minutes of stretching. So really, I'm usually just stretching out my back and doing like child's pose, just to get myself like a little bit ready for relaxing. I don't always do this, but it would be great if I could do this every day, is reading or coloring before bed, because it just kind of like softens everything for me. I do a sleep meditation before bed. And I use like a melatonin spray, so I remember to take that, right? And I have great bedding and a great pillow for sleeping, which seems silly, but I got it about 6 months ago. I have like a memory foam pillow now because I'm a side sleeper. And the difference between having a terrible pillow and having a great pillow was huge, right? So really, like it was the most expensive pillow I could afford at the time. So get the best pillow that you can get, and have good bedding, and make your room like somewhere that you love to sleep, right? Darkness is important. So if you have computer lights or modem lights or anything like that, make sure that they're dimmed or off, right? Have blinds. Make your room ready for sleep, right? So that's the first thing. That's number one. Number two, wake up without the snooze button. So wake up without snoozing. This took me a long time to do. But once I started waking up without snooze, I was so much less tired. So we sleep in cycles. right? Our cycles, I can't remember, I believe they're like 90 minutes, right? So a sleep cycle is about 90 minutes. So if you're sleeping and then interrupting that every 9 minutes, you're not getting good sleep, right? If your snooze button, most snooze buttons are about 9 minutes long, right? So if you just keep pushing snooze for 18, 27 minutes, whatever, however many times you push it, all you're doing is interrupting what would be a good sleep. If you need to sleep longer, right? But if you're interrupting your sleep all the time, you're getting interrupted sleep, which doesn't feel restful in the end. That's not actually going to help you rest. Along with that, snooze is a reminder that you don't want to start your day. Like just psychologically, snooze is saying, ugh. That's what you're saying to yourself every time you push snooze, right? So just think of what you're training your belief system to be if that's what you're doing, right? You're training your belief system to think, I don't want to get out of this bed. I don't want to get up and start my day. I don't think it's going to be good. I feel tired already, right? So you want to actually, so what I did is instead of pushing snooze, so at the beginning, I just woke up at the time, called sham sleep. I love that. Exactly. It's a great way to look at it because it's not real, right? It's not real rest is what it is. Thanks, Larissa. So I started getting up. So if I snooze twice, right? If I push snooze twice, that's 18 minutes. So I just put my alarm for 15 minutes later and got myself up then, right? And just gave myself the gift of just sleeping until that time, instead of pretending that I needed to get up at 7, because I'm not getting up at 7, I'm getting up at 7:18. So I stopped pretending that I needed to get up at 7 and just allowed myself to get up at 7:20, right? And then you can do the backwards. Okay, I'm getting up at 7:20 without snooze. Now I'm going to try 7:15. And then you go until you can get up at 7, and then you get up at 7:15, right? And when you can get up at 7:15 without any problem, then you put it to 7:10 when you're ready. And then eventually you train yourself to be up at 7, if that's what time you want to be up, right? So you have to give yourself, like talk to yourself before you go to bed. I'm not using snooze. I'm giving myself my snooze minutes, right? I'm very excited about the gift I'm giving myself to just honor that I need this extra 20 minutes of sleep. And when the alarm goes off, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm getting out of bed, right? Or whatever you want to do when you wake up, right? So be honest with yourself, give yourself some grace and allow yourself to wake up when you need to. This might be the first thing you do for your morning practice, is just stop snoozing, right? And that will be monumental, right? You don't have to add in all the other things if this is the only thing, or setting a bedtime, right? Like we just want to pick one thing to work on. Okay, so that's a lot about that. But it's really important because it's almost like we're training ourselves to sabotage and procrastinate using snooze, right? Right from the minute we wake up. So those two things are really big. Number 3, make your first thoughts that you think and words you speak positive. Make the first thoughts you think and words you speak positive. So this is a practice, right? So you're going to start by just noticing that the first things you say when you wake up are negative. So that's the very first step. Notice what you say when you wake up. So it might be that you start your day like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't believe what I have on my plate today. This is going to be so busy. My meeting schedule, blah, 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 right? So that's how you wake up. You notice that. Maybe you take 5 days just to notice every day I'm waking up with this negative self-talk, this negative problem, catastrophe, all the things, right? And then you decide, okay, that's not how I want to wake up, because that's not making me feel like good in my day. So what am I going to just notice and then say no? And then you want to add in what you want to, how you want to start your day. I'm so grateful that I have this day to wake up to. So I start each morning with a prayer of gratitude. Sometimes it's just short and sweet, like thank you, God. And sometimes it's longer and more detailed, right? And it includes like, I'm so grateful that I'm awake and that I have this day ahead of me and that these kids are home or these kids are doing this thing or whatever. So sometimes it's longer, but it's always a prayer of gratitude. And that's how I always start. I'm grateful I've just opened my eyes, right? Whatever it is that you can remember. I'm going to have a good day today. Exactly. Thanks, Marissa. That can be the thing you say. So pick a phrase or a prayer or whatever it is for you. And today I will treat myself with lots of respect. Love it. Right? So just pick that, make that the phrase that you interrupt whatever negative thoughts you have and just say, right? You have to interrupt yourself because you can go on a really long unconscious tangent around how hard this day is going to be. It's really easy to do. It's our default thinking to prepare ourselves for the worst, right? So we spend a whole bunch of time unconsciously feeling really full of negativity. So we have to interrupt that with something that's really clear and precise, right? So I love that you guys have some thoughts about what you could say to yourself. You can write it down so that it's on your bedside, so then you can even read it if you need to. Excuse me. Yeah. And so so I just want you to remember that on the occasion when you wake up and are unconsciously in worry or negativity, that you just return to the positive thing, right? There's no like, I'm totally screwed this up. I can't, you just be positive as soon as you can be. Number 4, smile. One of the indirect effects of getting up each morning with the sunrise was that I noticed how much I had this giant smile on my face as I watched the colors. The sunrise made me smile, right? And then being grateful made me smile, right? And so if you can just feeling like if everyone just smiles right now, like just do your biggest smile, right? You can feel that releases some things in you that makes you feel much more positive, more optimistic. We release hormones when we smile and laugh, right? That make us just feel good. And so if we just start our day instead of frowning or being grumpy, if we just start our day with a smile, an intentional smile, almost like just a practiced smile, right? It's going to add to all of this optimism that we're creating and positive feelings. Number 5, make your bed. So making our bed starts our day when you start your day by doing this one quick kindness for your bedtime routine, right? For our bedtime selves, right? It shows us how much we care about ourselves. Whenever we can show ourselves kindness, right? It's like we're proving all of that inner critic wrong. Oh, I do deserve to have a nice bed to come into. And I thought about that and it's so nice. Like at nighttime, when you come to your bed and it's already made and it's like all the sheets are nice and whatever, you're like, oh, this is such a nice bed to climb into. You did that for yourself, right? And that's such a gift. It's also this incredible practice that once it's completed, right? Like it's this, when you think about what happens when you make your bed and it's done, it makes us feel better to have a made bed, right? It helps us to feel productive right away. It's like a job we've gotten done, right? It's like you could check that off your list. And it's really the start of our daily thoughts feeling more organized and decluttered, right? Our yeah, just this idea that when everything's kind of straight and organized and orderly, that feels really good for us, right? So I think it's like this really lovely way to come, like when we, to sort of to start our day out of the gates in a way that feels really good for us. So make your bed. It doesn't have to be like fancy making, just pull the, whatever the sheets, whatever. It doesn't have to, you don't have to do 4 corners and stick it all in. Just make it look nice for yourself. Number 6, give thanks. No surprise here. Gratitude has been the simplest and most transformative practice that I have cultivated in my entire life. For the last decade plus, I have been practicing gratitude more and more and more. And the more I'm grateful for, the more gratitude, the more things there are to be grateful for in my life, without a doubt, right? Gratitude has taught me that life is a gift, that everything in my life is a gift. So I don't take things for granted. I really see the beauty in everything. There's a difference between being like saying thank you and living in gratitude, right? And that's a continuum that you can cultivate more and more and more. And the more we cultivate it, the easier it is to see those lessons as blessings, right? As well as your life as a blessing. And so however you decide to do that, whether it's just saying it out loud, whether it's in a some sort of prayer to whomever, whatever feels right for you, whether it's in a gratitude journal, however it is that you're going to do that, it's powerful, I promise, to start your day in gratitude. Number 7, meditation. Meditate. Quieting my mind was so crucial to my growth and fulfillment because my mind was busy with all of these negative and insecure and unhelpful thoughts and beliefs, right? That I held for such a long time in my life. And so in order to change that, I needed to figure out how to see my thoughts differently. Great question. I don't know what, Joanna, I'll come back to that question. I have to look at it after. So meditation is like this beautiful practice that helps us become both present as well as develop self-awareness. And both of those things are so important to get out of the negative thinking, right? Self-awareness is noticing, right? Noticing how I'm operating and then being able to change that because you notice. And then this present moment piece is about mindfulness, right? And being really here instead of always worrying about what could happen, so predicting, or being stressed out or feeling bad about what has happened, right? Instead, we're here being okay, right? Right now in this moment, everyone is okay, right? Here in this moment. There's no right way to meditate, and you can't get it wrong, right? This is what's so important. I hear this so often. I tried meditation, but I don't know if I was doing it right. I don't think I can. I'm not really good at meditation. So many people have said that to me. I'm not good at it. So what I want to suggest to you is that meditation comes in lots of ways, right? For me, it is sort of traditional. I love guided meditation. I lie down. So I'm not telling you these in order that I do them. I do my meditation almost as soon as I wake up. I stay in bed. I plug into some guided meditation because my husband is generally sleeping. And I allow myself just to feel awash of being connected to these beautiful messages that I've, chosen to listen to, having a mantra that I say for about 10 minutes. So my whole meditation overall is about 20 minutes long. And it's just this time where I'm just able to yeah, just be at peace. That's what it feels like for me. It took me a long time to get to this very full practice. And I did lots of trial and error. I meditate now, like at the airport before I take off, at a plane. I can meditate on the subway. I can meditate anywhere, but it took me some time to get to a place where that was so, yeah, there was an ease to that. And so start really small, 1, 2, 3 minutes, where you're just quiet, where you're noticing your breath or counting or saying a word like love or I am or whatever it is that you want to say. Or you can focus on a music. So download a spa music and pick a really short, 2-minute song, and just allow that, just kind of pay attention to the song for the amount of time that it is. I've shared on here before, when I started meditating, I counted from 1 to 10 and 10 to 1 up and down for 1 minute. And my phone was on a timer for 1 minute. And when I realized that I wasn't counting, because that happens right away, like you count up and down, and then suddenly you're talking in your head about your grocery list and, what you have to do. And, am I sitting right? And I'm itchy, and all of these things that happen when you start meditating. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not thinking about counting. I'm thinking about all these other things, and I'm returning to counting. And then I just started 1, 2, 3, 4, until I could do a minute. And then when I could do a minute easily, then I moved to 2 minutes, and then 5 minutes. And then that just kept growing. So that's how you kind of train yourself to understand the process of returning back to something, whatever that is for you, a light, music, a mantra, whatever it is. Okay. And I'll answer questions at the end around that specifically. Number 8 is move your body. So for me, stretching, weights, and walking are all part of my daily movement practice. It can be anything, whatever feels intuitively good for you. That's how you move your body, right? It could just be literally sitting in your chair and stretching back, or doing a couple of stretches, or going for a walk around the block, or doing stairs, or riding your bike, or whatever it is. Vitality, optimal health, and longevity are all enhanced when we keep our bodies limber and in flow. So the more we start our day in a way that feels energetic and like flexible and all of these things, the better our day is going to be. Physical health improves our mental and emotional health as well. So if we can add it in, it's going to help us to have that more positive energy, right? To be more optimistic, all of those things. So move your body any way that feels good. Number 9, write in a journal. So journaling is just this incredibly important part of our growth, because we need to be able to reflect. We need to be able to see what we want, what we've been able to achieve, what isn't going the way that we wanted to, right? We have to be able to be conscious of what it is that we're trying to do for ourselves, what we want, what we deserve, what has been holding us back, what our patterns are, what our inner critic is saying. We have to be able to be conscious of those things in order for us to make any change in those, right? If personal development matters to you, then reflection has to matter to you. Because if we're unconscious to how we're showing up in the world, there's no way for us to do something different. We're just going to keep doing whatever our default thinking tells us to do. So one of the things that happens for me often so I journal every day. And then when things get tough or challenges, I can feel myself not journal, right? I'll be like, yeah, I don't need to journal today. And of course, it's the day I need to journal the most, right? Because it's so clear to me that I will unravel whatever's happening. And sometimes we don't want to unravel what's happening because it's a lot of information and we're going to have to do something about it, right? And so when I return to journaling, I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. And all the stuff comes out. I can see things so clearly. Problems start to dissipate. I can see what story I'm telling myself. I've woven this whole big story for myself. I can see where I'm acting like, I'm being a victim instead of, being a problem solver and taking responsibility. All of the things, right? It's just such a really beautiful tool to helping us see because this ruminating that happens is always unconscious. So a lot of the time we don't even know what we're saying to ourselves. As soon as you put it down in paper, you're gonna be able to witness what it is you're saying to yourself. And as soon as you can witness what you're saying to yourself, you can decide, I'm going to keep saying that to myself, or, I don't want to say that to myself anymore. I deserve something different. Enough now, right? It records our thoughts and it helps us to develop a self-compassionate voice, because as you're writing, and if it's harsh writing, you can say, that's not okay for me. And so then you start to learn how to write about yourself in a nicer way. And then that's developing that same voice in your head. And it obviously exposes your inner critic, because you're going to start to see where you're criticizing yourself, right? It's going to be like all the things are going to show up in your journal. So journaling is key to starting your day off, or like having this day where you're really taking good care of yourself. Number 10 is set an intention. Being intentional about how you want to show up is a great way to set the tone for your day. So sometimes, even if you were to just put in the chat right now, what is your intention for today? It might be kindness. It might be, I want to be joyful. So you can do that if you want to. What is it how do you want to show up today in your day, right? Just put it there. Just write a word that feels right for you. Open, love it. Happy, amazing. Anyone else? Present, love that. Anyone else? Okay, and so when you see those words, rested, beautiful. So when we put those words in this chat, for example, that's intention, right? You're giving it some conscious energy, right? Self-compassionate. I love it. And so what I want you to do is, if you wrote a word in chat, I want you to write it down somewhere in your notes or on a sticky or something. And then you want to put that. So like my intention usually goes on my computer, because that's what I look at all day. So I have like these little teeny tiny little yellow stickies like this. And so they line my computer here, right? And I put that there to remind me what my intention is for today or this week or whatever, right? I also use other tools, like I have over here on my ledge, I have sets of cards that are all intention cards. Some of you have won those. They're made by a friend of mine and they're called May You Know Joy. They're intention card decks. And so they're like, being co-conspiring with the universe to pull whatever word, is maybe the word that I'm going to use today. So for today, my word is power. May I know power today, right? So sometimes I have those cards sitting close to me, right? So that I just remember what it is that I'm setting for myself. Because it's one thing to write it in the chat or put it on a piece of paper. And it's another thing to be reminded throughout the day so that you can be conscious of it, right? So that when you've moved away from it, you come back. They can, for sure. We'll share the link there we go. Thanks, Penny. You're so good. She's so good. I'll give her. Woohoo. Yeah, they're amazing. So I want you to just remember with all of these practices, especially the ones that are sort of to last through the day, like intention setting, you want to remember that you just return, right? So you've moved away and you're very unconscious and you're not resting. I'm just using that one as an example. So you're like tense and busy and not taking breaks and whatever. And then you're like, whew, my intention for today is rest. And so I'm returning to that intention. And so right now I'm going to go and make myself a cup of tea. The sun is shining. I'm going to sit on the porch and take 15 minutes for myself, right? And then you return to that, right? It doesn't mean you have to be resting all day unless you want to, right? It's okay if you take a full, you can, but it's also just this idea to return to what it is that really matters to you. Yeah, it can be as simple as saying, today I will be kind to myself and to others, and then just bringing that in as a conscious decision, right? To be kind to others and myself. Number 11, drink warm water with lemon. So this practice helps to be very intentional about nourishing ourselves. Because one of the places that we tend to not take care of is like actually eating in our body, right? So it has made me present and grateful and mindful about my body and the things that I might have taken for granted before, like say running water, right? So my morning, the first thing I put into my body every morning is a warm water and lemon, glass of warm water and lemon. And so I've talked about this before where I have a lemon press. So I'm like smelling the lemon as I press it, the effervescence of the peel. I listen to the lemon, going into the glass. I feel the water warm up with my hand so that I can be like sort of present with the temperature, fill my glass up. It's all the lemon and the water are all mixing, and there's like this little frothiness that happens on the top. I feel it as I sort of gulp it down my throat, feeling the like what it feels like, tastes like, everything. And that takes about 30 seconds to 1 minute total. That's a really easy practice. It's one of the ones that I started at also at the beginning, near the beginning, because and it just changed how I paid attention to things, right? You can do it with washing dishes. It's just a really beautiful way to be practice mindfulness. And then obviously it's really good for you. Number 12, someone wrote this as one of their things: have a nourishing breakfast. Taking time to fuel yourself in the morning sets you up for better productivity, less cravings, and more energy, right? It doesn't have to be a huge breakfast, right? You don't have to bring out every pot and pan, but try and, be protein rich, have a protein rich meal that's made from wholesome, less processed food. The more you can focus on that, right? Doesn't have to be this or all of this. Just the great thing about protein is it takes a long time to break down. So you stay full for a while, and also your body, because it hasn't eaten for a really long time, right? Because we've slept, it gives it this energy. It's working, it's using it really well instead of a quick, like sugar is a quick fix, right? Protein takes longer to go through your body. So it's processed in a different way. So it gives you more sustainable energy, right? So it's just about coming up with a few things. You could eat, 2 or 3 meals. You don't have to have tons of variety. You can meal prep your breakfast so that it's ready, especially if you feel like you never have time for breakfast, right? If that's something that you say, boil some eggs if you like that and have it in the fridge so you have something ready. Or, I don't need to tell you what to eat. I'm just saying, be prepared for a good breakfast, a nourishing one. And the last one that I want to share today is plan your day with a self-loving heart. I want you to make your to-do list from a kind and gentle place. Don't overtask yourself. Don't give yourself 100 things that you have to get done. And then I want you to also add in something inspiring or fun or creative or restful on your list, so that every day feels good, not just like chores. And then I want you to be mindful about how you use your list. Is it a tool to help you, or is it a way for you to be punitive and judgmental about yourself? So when you're planning your day, really plan it from a place where you love yourself first, instead of planning your day that you'll love yourself if you get it done. Awesome. All right, questions. I feel like there were a couple that I missed in the chat. Let me go. Joanne, I think you had a really good question. I'm going to find it. There it is. Whoa, are you moving it? Oh, there. How long do you recommend meditating for before getting out of bed? Can you please share a morning one that you use? Perfect. So I think I talked about a little bit about like what I do in the morning. I do meditate in bed. If you're falling asleep during your meditation, I would sit up, so really just be clear about what you're using each of these tools for. So if it's a way so that you can stay lying down, then you need to sit up and use it intentionally for meditation. I do that. I lie down because it's most comfortable for me, right? But I'm wide awake. Like I'm really focused on my meditation. So I use mostly the Oprah and Deepak Chopra 21-day meditations. I've bought a whole bunch of them. It's changed a little bit now. So it's a Chopra app, and I don't know what you get with that because I use only these paid ones. I also use a meditation app called Simply Being, I think is what it's called. I love that one. Has lots of different times, but there are lots of free apps, so you guys can put what you use in the chat for other people. I know Calm has a free version, and I know Headspace also has a free version, and Headspace has a really good like baby steps growing meditation plan that helps you if you've never done meditation or you really feel like it's challenging for you. And I don't have any affiliation with them. I just know I've seen it before. And that's really what their purpose was to get people to start meditating. However, so it's kind of cute and uses, sort of a cartoon, I think, and so on. So that might be fun. And if there's other ones, absolutely put them there for other people. If you use a different one, that's cool. There's tons and tons of free stuff on YouTube, so you can definitely find people. I think for me, the most important thing is that I love their voice. It's all about like, if you're listening to a guided meditation, it's about loving their voice. If you're listening to music, it's that you love the music. I have also many playlists with different kinds of meditative music. So I've got Sound Bath, which is like the singing bowls. I have some things that are like the hertzes, so they're the vibrational sounds, and then I have some that are just music. So I use all different things. Those are great. Thank you. Lovely. Thanks. All right. Did that answer your question, Joanna? I hope so. Yeah. Okay. Jen, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just wondering, what are some of the things that you considered, like when you decided to pick your morning routine with the sunrise, looking for a bunch of different ideas that would work for me and not require me to get up that early.
Perfect. Yeah. So I love that. So the reason I got up with the sunrise was because my kids were so awake very early. So I needed something that I could connect to a reason to get up earlier than when they got up so that I had time for myself. I'm not sure I was even that conscious of that. I probably had read somewhere that getting up with the sunrise was a really great way to start your day. So whatever time you get up, be intentional about that time that you wake up. So if right now you're kind of like, oh, I don't really want to get out of bed, be intentional about a specific time, whatever that time is. So mine was the sunrise. So I looked every night at what time the sun was going to start rising. That was my alarm, but it could change, right? So yours could be just, I get up at 7, or I get up at whatever time feels good, 6:30. Just make it earlier than what time you get up now, where you're feeling rushed and you have no time for yourself, right? So I gave myself 45 minutes to an hour before my kids woke up. So at the beginning, I took that time I still take that time for myself every morning. Every morning I take at least 45 minutes for myself to start my day, right? So that I can show up for the rest of the world in my best, because I feel my tank is full. So you want to be intentional about that. So if you get up right now at 8, start with 15 minutes, right? So if you get up at 8, start now deciding I'm going to get up at 7:45 and I'm going to put something in that 15 minutes. That's for me only. That's it, right? That's the commitment that you're making to yourself if you're starting some morning practice. If you already have lots of time, it might be any of these 13. It could be reading. I'm going to read with my coffee, something that, really feels inspiring. I'm going to get outside and walk, or whatever it is for you, right? So pick something that feels really good for yourself, be intentional about the time you wake up, and just start. Is that helpful, Jen? Yeah. Like I really work on that with clients. So I had a client who was going to bed super late in the night and then waking up and feeling awful all day. And so we worked on literally bedtime. So we put bedtime, like literally she would send me an emoji every single time she went to bed at the time, like midnight, because she was staying up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so every time she went to bed at midnight, she sent me an emoji, and she like, we would talk the next week and she's like, it's 5 to 12 and I'm literally brushing my teeth and diving into bed so that I can send you the emoji. Do you know, like, and so you want to just have some accountability to yourself about one little thing you're changing, right? And then when that thing becomes really consistent, you add in another thing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Questions? Oh, all right. Yeah, go ahead. Joanna, I think your hand is up. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how, I do a lot of this already, which is really, but I'd really like to expand. And simultaneously, I have to be out the door by 7:20 to make it to, I'm a kindergarten, those of you who don't know. And, I how, if you had to pick 2 or 3 things to do, because obviously that might not be possible to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get this done, because then you're going to bed at 9, right?
Right.
Are there a few of these that would hold really powerful priority?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, the priorities would be do something that quiets your mind, whatever that is. Do something that shows gratitude for your day and going forward. It's personal, right? Like for me, journaling is essential so that I can start my day with all my thoughts kind of clear. So that might be one. Movement could be it, because it gets you flowing. So I can't say that I do think gratitude is key because it really changes things. I do think focusing on something that nourishes you, right? Like physically, so like food in some way, that's really important. I mean, those are really basic things, right? Like food, taking, making sure we move our body, and
Water.
having enough sleep, water. Exactly. Those are really big, right? Those are essential. And then I think what's really important about this that happens, and I'm not necessarily talking about that today, but it is what actually happens, is that as you, like you said, if you're doing these things already, how it expands is that you start doing these things throughout your day, instead of just feeling like there's only this limited time to do them. So you want this time to be really solid and full and robust and like feel filling, right? So if it feels like that already, you're probably doing enough, right? If it feels like you're taking good care of yourself in the morning, you are. And then you want to do something at lunchtime, something when you get home from school, something before bed, right? So start to expand it to be bigger than the whole day. So what we're talking about today is about starting, and then if you already have a practice, expand it into other parts of your day. Love that question. Thanks, Joanna. Anna, go ahead. Just before you go, I just want to say thank you guys for joining. I'm going to stay on for questions. So if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. But if you need to go, I totally understand. Have a beautiful rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday. I'll be in Vancouver, so I'll be up at 6 a.m., which I would be up anyway, but I will be live at 6 a.m. All right. So it's great to see any of you who have to jump off. Go ahead, Anna.
So you've talked so many times about journaling, and it's so interesting, and I really want to do it. I just kind of picture myself opening up a book and looking and saying, okay, what do I say? I don't know what to say, how to start. I don't know. It just seems so scary to me. Although it's so interesting, I would love to do it.
It's great. And it is scary because it's like, it's going to be your truth. So I totally get that fear piece. So what I suggest, if you write me a little note, I will send you some reflective journal questions, because sometimes it's just easy to start with a few prompts, right? You can look those up, but I do have lots. So if you send me a little note, I will send that to you. Then the other thing that's really key for me is my journal. I always have it right on my desk, so it's not hard for me to not see it. Do you know what I mean? I did at the beginning. I don't now. It's on my shelf, but because I have too many things on my desk. But I did have it when I needed to get the practice, rolling. I kept it on my desk, or somewhere where I could at least access it. And I also have great pens. I love writing with great pens. So I found the pens that really work for me, and I always have them. I always have an extra pack. I always have an extra journal, so that when I run out, because I use the same journal company, I've used it for years. So I have an extra one in my cupboard, so that when it runs out, I'm ready to start again. I don't have any excuses to not do it, right? But I think a great way to start is with prompts. So anyone who wants that, just send me a note, and I can send those to you.
Sorry, just a question to you.
Yeah.
You do it just specifically on, in morning only, or whenever the urge feels like you feel you need to journal, like is it a specific time or a day or?
Right. So I journal always in the morning. That's just my personal preference. I think we work a lot of stuff out in our sleep, right? So we have a lot of that's where all of, I think we just have all of this time to work stuff out. So when I usually write from this free flowing way where I just write whatever comes up. I don't read my journal until the next day. I always read my journal the next day, because it helps me to reframe. It helps me to see whether or not I'm writing nicely to myself. It's helped me to change the way I talk to myself by reading it. So reflection is about always noticing, right? So noticing, writing down everything, and then noticing how you're talking to yourself, right? Then that day or the next day. I find it's always better the next day. And it also then prompts the next day's writing. Often I'm like, oh yeah, yesterday I said this thing, and now I did that today, and I'm really proud, or yesterday, I'm really proud of myself for doing this, or I really didn't do that. There's a reason I'm stuck here. What's the resistance, right? And I can write about why I'm not doing stuff, or why I'm feeling this way. So I use it as a way to kind of get whatever ruminating thoughts I have on paper, and then use a kind voice with whatever comes up, right? I often write out what my inner critic is saying to me, like, and then write that's not true, and then write what's actually, what is the story I'm telling myself. I write a lot. I mean, I really do love journaling. So I think so just back to the original, I think reflecting on one question is a really good way to start, because it just stops you from feeling overwhelmed about what to write about. Right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
Hi, Rose. Go ahead.
Hi, it's funny, Anna. I have the same question about journaling, and I love to do it. And I think, as you said, Carla, definitely knowing and being honest with yourself, it's really liberating, And I think one of the problems that I had in the past was because I wasn't clear about myself. The same thing with Anna. I don't think I can incorporate journaling in the morning, but on the other hand, I want to be committed. Like,
right.
I don't know how to do it. And I don't know, do you have any suggestion if I cannot do it in the morning, since I have to run, all the errands and everything? What do you suggest that I stay committed to do journaling?
So that's such a good question. And so commitment is really about carving out the time, right? And so I think you play with this for a little bit, because the thing is we're always gonna, when we don't do something for all our lives and then we decide we're gonna be committed to it, the biggest thing that our inner critic does is say, don't change that. You don't need to do that thing. Stop doing it. You don't need to do it, right? And so we come up with all of these reasons to sabotage ourselves and the situation. And so the most important thing we want to do is absolutely commit ourselves to a specific time, right? And then review that time. This time isn't working for me. I've only done it once this week, right? So I have a chart that's on my website, it's like a daily habit chart, and you can literally write journal writing on it as the only thing, and then check off Monday, put a time like journal writing at 6, right? 6 p.m. say, or journal writing after dinner. It could be sort of that vague. And then every single day you check it off. And then at the end of the week, you look at that chart and say, I did this 2 times. So one of 2 things is happening here. Either this time I don't actually have available to do this thing that I thought I would be able to do at 8, or I'm like resisting this habit. And so I have to look at why I'm not journaling, right? So those are the only 2 things that could be the issue. And so you could even journal about it, right? Why am I resisting this? Or is this a bad time, right? And if it's a bad time, you change the time and try again. And if the same thing happens, then that's probably a clue that you're actually resisting the practice more than you don't have time for it, right? And if you're resisting the practice, why? What is it that you're worried is going to come up? How can I be gentler with myself? What are some of the things I could write about that are not as serious as I think I need to write about? Like, you don't have to write like, your whole life in your journal. You could just start with really gentle things like today, you could start with like, my intention for today was this. I did it this time, right? And then there was a time here where I really moved away from my intention, and then I came back to it. Like it could be like this long, your journal entry. So start small, start easy, start kind, and it will develop. I promise. If you stick with it. Great job. Thank you. Great question. Hi, Nina. Go ahead. Oh, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. My question is also on journaling.
Yeah.
And I notice often that I very much edit my writing as I'm writing.
Right.
And typically I'm focusing on all the good and positive, which I think maybe is something I sort of worked on developing, to
Mhm.
focus on the good and positive. But then I find that maybe I'm not being as fully honest, and it's not
Mhm.
serving that sort of journaling purpose that it might.
Good question. Yeah. So what I would say to good and positive, what I would focus on writing is authentic and true, right? Authentic and true with a voice that feels compassionate, right? So that you are, because you're right. If all we do is focus on the good and positive are amazing, and you should always celebrate yourself in your journal too. But if it's all that's there, you're missing what's under the surface, right? And so that's where all the that's where all the juicy stuff is, right? Under this, like, if we think of an iceberg, you can see the top and it might be, solid and good. Underneath is this giant piece underneath. And so we want to get into that, right? It's really important to get into that. So yeah, authentic and true voice, right? What's true to me? Because what's true to you from your inner wisdom is actually going to be kind and gentle. And lots of it is going to be exciting, inspiring, because you're going to have lessons there that you're teaching yourself, right? That you can learn things from and grow in there, right? And growth is good and positive. So yeah, I just think that be as authentic as you can with yourself. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Linda, go ahead.
So it's not that I want to talk every week, but I just hear people struggling with the stuff that you're saying. And I feel like I'm putting into practice everything that you talk about every week. And if people do want me to share, I'm happy to do that, right? And for me, so let's just go. Okay, so you talked about putting in daily practices. So what I did was I then wrote down everything that I wanted to do as a daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I picked and choose what resonated with me right then and there. So it could have just started with one thing, but now, and I've shown this list to people, it looks like this because I'm a check mark kind of girl. Right. So I took your page of writing, because I didn't used to do like whatever, Monday to Sunday. So I took your page and I put it into my own way of doing it so I could check mark everything. And I put a whole bunch of stuff into different areas. Not that I do everything, but it just is a guideline. So I gave myself grace. Like I'm going to start a new page next week. And this is when it started. And it looks really different 4 months later. And I also graded myself to see how I do every week, because, if we don't see where we are, we don't know where we're going. And
yeah.
My goal is to just, like, as you say, make your bed. I decided to do that. The other thing I just put in there, because sleep, I'm not great at sleeping. So I'm in a book club where we're talking about the book called The Power of Now. And then I listened to one of Eckhart Tolle's YouTube videos, and he talked about being present. And I'm thinking, what? So he talked about not thinking. So these last 4 days, I've gone to bed not thinking. And I've actually fallen asleep within 5 minutes. Exactly. I'm 62 years old. I've never done that. And then my husband says to me, yeah, I go to bed, I don't think. Well, like, we've been married for 32 years. You didn't say these words to me, right? Yeah. So that's just it. And then also with the journaling, I have so many of these notebooks I picked up from my kids. My kids are in their 20s now. What do I do with them? So I figured, you know what, I'm going to pick one and I'm going to start. So I did pay attention to you. I went out to Staples. I bought a whole bunch of colors. Every day I pick a new color and I write. This is my journal, just in a notebook. Yeah. And my journaling practice was this long before. And after the first week, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't do everything. I'm going to give myself permission to not do everything on that list. So now my journaling practice is 10 minutes while I do something else, right? Yeah. And then my meditation, at the same time, I also stretch. And I put that in as my practice. But, you know, I just found something on YouTube that resonated with me. That's what I.
Thank
so then
you.
Last thing, gratitude. I did happen to pick up this book. I've tried to do gratitude journals, but I didn't know, because I can't stand bits of paper everywhere, and then I'd start it and then not start it, stop. So I started to journal in this. I just fill out this section. It could be 3 things I'm grateful for, 10 things I'm grateful. Doesn't matter. Once it's filled, I'm finished.
You're done.
So
It's
that's
good.
less than 10 minutes too. So
Beautiful.
anybody can start. We're just hard on ourselves, I think, sometimes because we want it to be perfect.
Mhm.
Just start. So
Thank you.
I really, thank you. I really hope everybody, don't mind me speaking, but I really feel that I've been taking what you've been saying and just putting it in little bit by little bit.
Yes, I love it. And listen, I understand, because I also didn't put it in practice for so many years. It is hard to start because we've done something for so long and we just don't feel like it's our way, right, to do this new thing. But as soon as you start, it shifts, right? So I encourage you. I love the simple, do it as simply as possible. So if at the beginning, all of my writing was in one book. Gratitude journal was 1 line, 3 lines. Everything was short. I did everything for a really short amount of time. And I gave myself a check mark for the littlest things, right? Like I gave myself a check mark for literally writing, I am grateful for getting my nails done. Check mark, right? That's it. So it doesn't feel like gratitude when you start it. It feels like you're writing a sentence because you have to, because Carla told you to or something, or because I know I should do gratitude. And then eventually it grows into something that's personal and means so much. And that's what I think is really powerful, is it will evolve into what it's meant to be for you, because it will feel good. I promise. Like it takes some time, but I promise that that's true. All right.
We need to give ourselves more pats on the back. I think sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. Absolutely. And just let go of that perfection. I'm a Virgo, so I know perfection. Yeah. So I really, those check marks are my pats on the back. So
that's
thank
good.
you.
Love it. Thank you. Yeah. So download that work. There's like a daily practice sheet on my website under resources that you can get. That's just a way for you to easily check mark, to start your check mark. However it is that you want to set that up, like Linda says, she made it her own. It's a resource that's already available to you that you can start. And if you want some reflective questions, just reach out to me. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Penny, again. Cheers for Penny. All right. It was great to see you all. Thank you. Enjoy. If you have the day off, enjoy it. And if not, have a really beautiful rest of your Monday. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take good care, you guys. Bye. Thank you.